you're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Connections. I am your host, Christina George, and with you another week to have some amazing guests, talk about some very interesting topics, and interact with all of you. This week, as many people know, my guest is going to be my good friend, Jason Stanton. He's also a radio show host of Ghost Chat Radio here on DCM Liquid Radio Network. And, he does investigating. I've worked with him on cases. We've become good friends over social media over the years. And, I thought, what better than, to, again, have somebody, I always like to bring in different investigators, different people with different experiences in the paranormal. And so I thought Jason would be a great fit. And I know that he's got a very big following like I do. And, I think that how great to bring us together. Actually, when I posted, I got a lot of, private messages saying that they thought, wow, this is going to be an amazing show. And I completely agree. So I do want to let people know that, and I guess we'll have Jason as well, but they have an upcoming event, and it looks very, very, very interesting from what I could see. Of course, I'm on the West Coast, so I unfortunately will not be able to be there, but I think that it's going to be a great show. And let me see, it's going to be at the historic Palma, New York Tour and Paranormal Investigation. So I think we actually might have Jason on the line. Jason, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. Welcome, and thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure to be on your show.
Well, I'm sure I probably screwed the whole name of your event up, but for the listeners, you want to give them some information about it and the location, what you guys are going to be doing?
Yeah, Palmyra, New York. It's upstate New York. It's up by Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a little bit up in that area, so forth and so on. If you're coming from the city, you're going to travel about 3.5 to 4 hours, something like that. If you're up in Niagara Falls, I believe it's like 2 hours away, 3 hours away, something like that. So it's kind of central, I guess you can say. There's three particular buildings that we have access to. There's an old hotel, an old bar, and something else. I can't remember what it is. But there's going to be a historical tour before the event, so people are going to be able to, attend this tour and hear about the history of these buildings and what kind of stuff has gone down there and so forth and so on. And then that would give me time to set up all the equipment that I have. I'm going to be running. I don't know if I should bring my 16-channel DVR or my 8-channel DVR, but I'll probably just bring the 8-channel. That's got better video quality, I guess. So that time to run all that stuff and get all that set up and have a central base, I guess you can say.
Right.
And then obviously you're going to get a lecture from, well, not a lecture, that's a bad term. I don't like saying that. But I'll wind up doing some speaking, and Denny and Tiff are going to be speaking. They're going to be there. And then we're going to start the investigation. Now, considering we do have 3 locations, and I don't want people running around crazy, I'm going to wind up splitting everybody up into, smaller groups if I can, 3 groups, obviously, because there's 3 buildings. And every hour and a half or so, we'll wind up switching buildings so that everybody gets an opportunity to investigate all the locations that we have access to.
Right. Well, I was looking at the promos, and it looks like some very interesting locations. And I'll tell you, I went up to Placerville, California recently, and we went on a tour up there, and very, very interesting location because it was one of the first towns in Northern California that back in the day did public hangings in the street and in front of this hotel for anybody who was caught cheating during the party. Yeah, and so they literally, if they caught you cheating, they would just take you and they'd take you out to the outside and they would hang you up. No jury, no trial, nothing. So, very, very interesting town. I mean, there's all kinds of activity going on, but I had never done the actual, historical tour. So, I do think that for something like this, it's very valuable, because as people do capture things, like you can kind of connect it all together, and it's very, very interesting on the backgrounds of these locations. A lot of people don't know them. And I was looking, too, it looks like it's going to go Saturday, July 26th from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., and tickets are $55, but if you book before July 15th, you can get 2 for $100, so you do get a discount. And actually, for 3 locations and everything that they're getting, that's actually really, really good pricing. So very, very interesting. Now, are you going to be doing like a radio show live from there, or is just doing an event period?
I haven't really discussed that with Denny and Tiff yet. I don't think that they would have an issue with it. So, I mean, it's definitely on the table. I wouldn't mind doing another live investigation. I've done hundreds of them. But one of the biggest things is I can't get too far ahead of myself, because even though it's me and Denny and Tiffany's event, I may not even be able to go. I might get called in to do something else.
Right.
Which kind of sucks, I hate to disappoint people, but in the same token, I don't want to get everyone's hopes up, and they expect me to be there, and I'm not there, and then all of a sudden they're pissed off. But so I prefer to kind of just say, hey, there's a chance, a very small chance, I may not be there. So I'd like to get that out there first, But it's definitely on the table. I'll have to discuss that with Denny and Tiff if they want to broadcast live there. I have no issues. I love doing live investigations. They're actually quite fun.
I think so too.
I've done one. I mean, the first one that I've ever did, I went into this one farmhouse, and this is going back when, 2.5 years ago, when I first got on the radio, when I first started doing radio. And, within the first 5 minutes of investigating, we've gotten 15 EVPs that were pulled out of, the audio from the broadcast. So it's always fun doing them, and it's always cool to see people's reactions when that does happen. I can't guarantee that's going to every place is like that, because it's not. I've done others that, you kind of got to struggle to try to get EVPs, but it does happen, and it's pretty cool to have that happen live over the air.
Right. Oh yeah. I've done a lot of them. Where we even at my other network where we would do live investigations, and it is kind of cool because you then can people who are paying, and they're investigating. You can interview them, for their own personal experiences, and it's amazing what people get. So many people get so many different things, so it should be very, very interesting.
Oh, definitely. I love doing them. Like I said, I've done a lot of them, and I haven't done anything recently like that. But I'm hoping to do another one soon. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I was just telling Dennis, I've had a lot of requests from listeners and people who follow me on social media, to come out and put something together and do something out there, in the New York area. So, I think that it's something I'm definitely going to, consider. We were just talking about, how nice it would have been, to be able to come and do something, together with you and them. And, so maybe in the near future that would be something that we can put together. I think it would be, a whole lot of fun.
Oh, it would be. I was actually talking to Denny and Tiff not that long ago, too. I thought that, maybe we should try to do something with all the DTM Wicked member families. Try to save some money and, rent out some place just for us to have a blast or whatever the case is, some kind of appreciation. But, I mean, the only problem is a lot of us do happen to live, thousands of miles away, and, we're talking thousands of dollars of plane tickets that have to get bought in. And so, I mean, it's kind of improbable, but it's something that I would love to do personally.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I've been trying to get out there for so long, and, there's always something that comes up, but, I definitely would be super interested in doing something like that. So I'm sure that our listeners can look forward to something like that in the future. We'll definitely try to set up, something to do. So how has the investigating been out there? I here on the on the West Coast, there's just always so much going on, and probably over the last 5 years, I myself, as well as many other investigators, and maybe this is the same for you, I've definitely seen a increase in activity, and the cases that are coming along with it. Are you seeing that out there as well?
Well, I mean, yeah, I have gotten a lot more requests for residential cases and so forth. I think it has to do more with the season than anything else. Personally, I don't think it's an increase in activity. I think it's because the weather's warmer and people are opening up their houses now, and it's starting to breathe, and weird noises are happening because, it's a space and you open up a house and air pushes in. Yeah, it's going to expand a little bit, bottom line. So that's more what I think it is. I don't think it's paranormal activity, personally, an increase. But in the same token, like I said, that's the scientific side coming out in me and the construction side coming out in me. They actually know that happens in the summertime and so forth and so on. But yeah, I have been getting a lot more calls lately of residentials. I've had to turn a lot of them down because I've been just so crazy lately. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Between doing events and book signings and the radio show, and I've got something else big coming up that I might have to attend to and do. So I mean, I have been kind of pushing a lot of them away and handing them over to other well-respected teams that are out there in the area.
Right. Again, I see that a lot too, and I can completely understand what you're saying because, for me, I got 3 radio shows, I do events, I'm mentoring, just my daughter just had a brand new baby, so, and we've had, been in and out of the hospital, so, yeah, it definitely takes a lot of time. Thankfully I've got, a big group. We've got 15, investigators because we have 2 divisions, so they are all very, very experienced, great team, so it makes it so much easier when, if something comes up. I used to always feel so bad if I couldn't personally be there as the leader. But now that we've been together for so long, and I think that everybody on my team is just as experienced in this as I am. So, it's nice to be able to kind of pass the reins and still have them take care of clients and things we need to do, and you not feel so bad about not personally being able to be there. But we as well, I get a lot of people who call me from not only all over the U.S., but even, around the world. So it's been kind of nice to connect with so many teams and investigators that, if I do have a case that is out of the area, that they can still get help, and I can still send them to a reputable team. You and I have worked together where I've sent, cases to you. I think that it's important because right now there are so many teams out there that when you're a client, it's almost overwhelming because you can pull up, depending on the area. I mean, in California, there's close to 3,000 paranormal teams right now, where, 10 years ago, I think there was 3 in Northern California only. So, there wasn't that big of a amount of people that you had to go through. But, with that many teams popping up, and some of them have just started, don't know what they're doing, trying to take on residential cases. And, I've had cases where they've gone through sometimes a few groups and been very unhappy with the results. In fact, one came in and the activity was so great at the house that the team got scared and they actually took off out of the house and then sent the client a message saying, "Oh yeah, you're absolutely got, something going on there." And the client said, "Well, what should I do?" And they said, "Well, what's the next step?" And they said, "Well, we don't do anything to get rid of them. We just validate if they're there." And I thought, "Oh crap, poor client."
But that's completely wrong. You don't do that. It's not your job to validate. That client called you up for comfort. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. They want to know what's going on in that particular house. They want to know what it is. They want to know what they can do. How can they feel welcomed in their own house? That's what they want. And that's the main job as a researcher or an investigator, to help those that don't understand what's going on in their house. Sure, we don't have all the answers either, but, we can do a formal investigation. We can get all the evidence collected from a particular location And we can come up with a conclusion that as far as what it is, and we can bring that conclusion to the client in hopes that, yeah, okay, maybe what's going on here isn't so bad. Maybe what's going on here isn't, too horrible or negative. Or if it is, you can refer them to somebody who can help them a little bit better than what you can. Not everybody's going to, stick to the same genre of paranormal investigating. It's not going to happen. I don't get into, weird stuff and so forth and so on. I don't do that, but I will recommend, if it needs that, if it needs a cleansing or a blessing or whatever the case is, I will recommend people that I am extremely comfortable with to go in there and to deal with it.
Right. Well, and, for me, I think that, because of the paranormal shows, we've got a whole lot of enthusiasts that, want to get out and do this. And we do need researchers. Absolutely. We need people to get out there in the field and investigate and do the research and stuff like that and bring forward evidence. But being an investigator and then taking on private clients' cases are two different things. And, we need...
They are.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that because it's like, okay, they get tired of going to, cemeteries or reportedly haunted locations, things like that. But when you go into a client's home, it is it's a whole different atmosphere. Usually by the time that the clients call you, they have gone through quite a bit and they're usually pretty convinced on what's going on. But again, like you said, there are many cases where it is explainable what is happening. I mean, being a psychic, people think that, I must think everything in the world is paranormal, and it's quite the opposite. I actually almost, at another team that I was on when I very first started, the manager of the group almost kicked me out of the group because of the fact that I was always debunking activity.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I don't want to go in and just add to these people's anxieties and fears, and there's nothing paranormal going on, and a lot of people don't understand that. We are finding, too, that people are having a lot of paranoia and hallucinations and seeing things when they have smart meters in their home. And I don't know if you guys have them on the East Coast, but there's quite a big thing here, and there's a lot of controversy of them. Do you guys have them out there?
Smart meters? They're starting to branch off over here. I don't even know what the hell they are. I've never seen one, but they are starting to branch off in here. I'm starting to hear about them a lot more, yes.
Right. Well, they're replaced for, electricity. They're replacing that. They're saying so that, the people can just drive by and wirelessly, pick up how much usage is and things like that. The only thing is that they're usually, mounting them, and there is such high readings off of these things that it is crazy. We had one where it was in the people's garage and on a wall, and they had turned the garage into like a bedroom for one of the daughters. And I mean, like, this girl was hallucinating like crazy. It was just unreal. And like, we could take the EMF meter in there and it would like just, max them out. And, a lot of people don't understand, like, even like really old microwaves, old houses that have old wiring in them, up through the walls, and a person's head, bed may be up against that wall and their head's right there. And so a lot of things like that, when you have these high readings, can definitely affect a person's, psyche. And they can, again, have hallucinations, feel things, but it's nothing paranormal. So if you get a team in there that doesn't know the difference, doesn't know, any of this stuff, I think it can be very detrimental, as far as for a client, because what's worse? I would hate to be a client and, have so much stuff going on that I feel like I need to call a team. You're looking on the internet, there's hundreds upon hundreds of them. You don't know who's the best, who's got the best record, who's good, who's not. And then you get out there, they come out there, and they go running out of your house telling you, yes, you've got something going on there, but they don't do anything other than come in and investigate and tell you if there's something there. I just think that it's like, like, just so crazy that it even happens like that. Yeah. It gives a bad name for, the investigators that are really, out there. I guess it's hard for a lot of investigative teams because there really is no, per se, training in the field. And it really runs into a lot of problems, especially if you're getting your training off of the television shows.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people do get their training off the television shows, and a lot of people expect the next to be the next big television show. Both. And then there's a lot of idiots out there who claim that they're specialists, and they are, they have the knowledge and the training to give out courses to be an investigator or a demonologist or whatever the case is. And I look at them like, what the fuck do you know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is still a very young field. I mean, yes, and the idea of ghosts and looking for ghosts have been around for thousands of years, but the research side of it is still brand new. It's still, it's only about 10, 15 years old. It's not old at all, the research side of it. Now, don't confuse that with the actual looking for ghosts, because that's been around for a long time. But the research side has only been around just a short period of time. It's all brand new. All the gadgets we use, it's all, still experimental. It's all brought in from other fields, construction, electricians, so forth and so on. So it's all, nobody has an answer yet. We're still trying to figure out if these things are actually energy. You know what I mean? We don't know.
Right.
And, a lot of people, they claim they have all the answers and they're good enough to, give out these courses, when in reality, they don't know a damn thing. They don't know that guy who they're trying to train.
Well, and it's a perfect example, because, like, for me, growing up, being able to, see, communicate, with spirits my whole life, I didn't, growing up, I didn't know about any of this stuff, and even though this has been something I've, learned, over the last 47 years, people will look at it and say, tell people I'm an expert, and I always correct them, because I don't feel that there are any quote-unquote experts in this field. A lot of people, their egos make them think that they're experts, or they put themselves off as experts to make themselves seem bigger or better, I guess. But I'm telling you, I learn new stuff all the time. So I don't see where anybody can be an expert when, as a whole, we are learning new things every single day that, completely reject what we've been told or taught, prior. So really, how can anybody truly be an expert in this field when there's so little known about it? So I so agree with you on that.
There's definitely no experts in this field. Everybody's still learning. The paranormal awards that you have out there's like 4 or 5 different kinds of them. They're not helping anything else, because they're giving people huge egos that now everyone's going around saying, oh, I won an award, I'm the best investigator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You won an award, right? I believe you won a piece of paper because you were cool enough to put yourself into the nomination then. No one met you and said, you're awesome, man. No, you didn't.
Absolutely.
You're not.
Yeah, and go ahead.
It doesn't help anything at all.
No. And you notice that, and these awards, now mind you, most people know, like, I've never been interested in the award shows. I've been nominated for many things. I even won, Mentor of the Year. You'll never see me posting this stuff. First of all, and I think that's probably why people don't really nominate me for the award shows anymore, because I get the nomination, but I don't really promote it to get the, the likes to win. Because, I just feel like it's a piece of paper. Most of the people who are chosen are friends with the person who is doing the actual award show. And with so many out there, I do think that it creates a lot of really big heads and egos in this field, which we don't need. And that little piece of paper then makes them feel that they are above everybody else.
Yeah, it's just commercialize and try to turn something into something it's not. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Everybody's out to, to be the most popular, person on the planet, and so forth and so on. I had a discussion with you about this earlier. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It's really popular. It really is. I can't deny that. However, I don't view my show as being popular. I'll go ahead and give credit to someone else, just because, hey, take that little bit of credit, because that's the kind of guy I am. It's not about being popular in this industry. It's about helping people, and that's all it is.
I so agree. And like I said, you and I were talking about this, before. You and I both have, popular shows. We have a great following. But again, the thing that I love about you, Jason, is you're a lot like I am. You're very humble. It's not about saying, woohoo, look at me, like I'm the best, or, look how great I am. And because then it really kind of puts down everybody else that, you're in the network with, or you're, competing on airtime, or, because there's so many shows. But for me, the only reason I even got into radio was the fact that when I did lectures and I was, speaking, so many people enjoyed it, hearing what I had to say and educating them, and they really enjoyed all that. So I thought, well, a radio show, it would be kind of like the next step to be able to touch so many more people and be able to help them answer questions, all those kind of things. And so I said, since I started, in radio, that for me, numbers are great. I mean, but they're really for the network more so than for me, because even if I had, say everybody decided tomorrow that they just don't like listening to my show anymore, if I had one person who would listen, I would just go get a YouTube channel and I would just do it for one person. As long as there's somebody who feels that the stuff that I'm bringing to them will help them or educate them, then I'm doing what I should be doing. And to me, I could be careless about being popular.
That's basically why I got into radio. I was asked, I've been on the air for like 2.5 years, something like that. This is my third year. I'm working on my third year now, and I was asked by my first producer, Mark Watoshik, which I love to death, but and he asked me, and I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and the more I look around and surf the internet, everyone's getting all this false information, and they're basing everything on TV, and with this and that, and paranormal awards and the certificates, they were getting really popular. Paranormal 101 classes, they were real popular back. They're not so big now, thank God.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, these people are getting false information. They're basing everything on all the stupid gimmick stuff, and that's all it was, just gimmicks. That's it.
Right.
So I said, what? I got to do a radio show. I got to get out valid information. I got to make sure that people out there who do listen to me are going to get correct information. They're going to get different opinions from people who have been researching for 10, 20 years, 15 years. It don't matter. And they're going to learn something, and they're going to try to do it in a nice, sound, cool, collective, and funny way. And
right.
and that's why I got into radio. And then, later on I started, doing lectures and so forth and so on. But before that, all I was just a researcher. That was it. Just a two-bit, stupid fucking researcher. That's all I was before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and then, again, I really sometimes, piss people off because, like, on my show, I had started talking about, I started all of a sudden seeing, so many people trying to profit, off of the paranormal. And, again, giving these quote-unquote, classes, and that once you, finish paying your $299 or $399, it's always like $99, something like that. And once you pay all this money, then they, print you up a, corny certificate off of the computer that absolutely means nothing.
It's nothing.
Absolutely. And I see these people, they're new coming in, they don't know, what to do, how to do it, and so they are looking, but I thought, what a waste of people's hard-earned money. So my team and I decided, well, instead of, turning people to pay all this money, we decided we were just going to do, like, Paranormal 101 classes for free on YouTube and put them out there so that people have the information and they don't have to pay for it. Well, I'll tell you, as soon as I started talking about that, I got some pretty nasty emails from the people who were putting on these classes, saying, how dare you try to go out and just give the information away for free? And I thought, really, people? We do this to help people. The majority of us, do not charge anything, which I think is exactly the way it should be. I have seen many teams who charge hundreds of dollars to do investigations, and it just rubs me so wrong every time I find out that somebody's doing it. So I figure, well, you can be mad if you want, but, this is information. If people are going to go out and get into this field, I would feel much better putting out the information, giving information on our shows, things like that for people for free, so that when they're going out, number one, they're doing it the correct way. They're protecting themselves, the rest of their team, their clients. They know, which equipment to use, what's, you don't use, false positives, alternate reasons for things.
I guess thing is safety.
Yeah, and it's like, $299, $399 just to be, just to get a piece of paper is just, I don't know, it's such a scam. And it gives a bad, again, a bad reputation to our field. It's like somebody gets it and they're like, okay, well, our team, we're certified. And, then everybody else is like, certified? Like, when the hell do you need to be certified? All of us have been doing it forever.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that, the biggest thing that I can teach people, and the biggest thing that I tell people, well, besides the fact that we don't know anything, but, as time goes on, your perspective on paranormal is going to change over the years. Your whole style of investigating is going to change. Mm-hmm. Everything is going to be molded, and everybody's going to have their own style. Everybody's going to have their own technique. Why is that? Because everybody is so different. Everybody's personality, everybody's energy is completely diverse. And their own energy is what's going to get them the evidence that they need. And after a while, you'll start molding into that particular pattern. And that's when you graduate from, a basic, ghost hunter to an investigator and to a researcher, is when you start figuring that out and start gathering the important information.
Right. And you do. You learn so much, again, like I said, with the whole experts. I literally learn new things all the time. I mean, I crave that, and especially with investigating, again, even though I'm a psychic, I can pick up on things, you want to have the evidence to back up what I'm getting psychically. And so, if I can't get something that can validate it, through our research and our equipment and things like that, it's never, used. And I was seeing in chat, Dennis was actually commenting that, when teams get clients, that they should actually, go through a very kind of a thorough, what do I want to say, like when you're doing your pre-interviews, when, they're filling out all the questionnaires. Like, our questionnaire is literally 5 pages long, and it goes through everything. And now, mind you, when I first started, it wasn't like that. But again, over the years, you learn that there is so much that plays into a lot of this stuff. Medications, illnesses, psychiatric history, drug abuse. There's just a whole barrage of things that can play a part in people feeling like they have paranormal activity going on. And, do you guys have something like that as well?
Oh, yeah. I have my preliminary, investigations, which is when, I ask a lot of questions. I get into everything. I want to know from, everything from how many kids are in the house to, how many times a week they have sex to their menstrual cycle. I want to know everything, all the way up to medication, so forth and so on. But at the same time, then obviously I walk around the house and I look. I hate saying this, but I do kind of snoop a little bit. I'm looking for, pill bottles. I'm looking for narcotics. I'm looking for, everything that could play a factor into that particular investigation. Because you're absolutely right. The case that you recommended me on, the first thing I noticed when I went in there is that particular client was on 6 different medications, psych medications, and I discredit that at all. I can't. So I mean, yeah, I do have a laundry list of questions that I have to go over because I want to know what kind of energy they're putting out, and that's going to help me determine what kind of energy is actually in there.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And, you know, again, with cases, I mean, a lot of times, you know, people can even create, you know, their own activity, their own poltergeist activity in their own home, you know.
That was kind of the basis for the case that you recommended on. That particular was projecting its own energy in the poltergeist activity.
Absolutely.
And based on, you know, all the evidence that I gathered throughout the night, and I was there for about a good 5-6 hours. I set up everything I could possibly get. You know, I've had multiple conversations with those clients, and that's what I came up with. And she had to learn how to let go of that particular client had to let go of her past demons before she can resolve any previous ones.
Absolutely. And once she did that, and she really, you know, understood and took back, you know, the kind of the power, it all went away, which, you know, again, is so important. Like, so many people just don't understand that, you know, they can create their own poltergeist activity and, you know, activity in their own homes, even based on, you know, past traumas, you know, PSTD, you know, their childhood. I mean, it's just so many things. And so a lot of times, you know, they're looking for answers of, you know, how to get rid of something where, you know, the answer is really within themselves. And, you know, they expect us to come and, like, wave a magic wand and everything will go away. And that's not always the case.
It's not, especially when you're dealing with human entities. Human entities are a lot more trickier. Why? Because it has free will. It can choose to ignore your sage thing if it wanted to. You don't control it. It's free will. You know what I mean? When you're getting into more religious type of entities, yeah, you can do certain things or and so forth and so on. But human entities, it's almost damn near impossible to cleanse them. I'm sorry, it is.
Right.
And it's free will, you know, like I said. I mean, it doesn't care about how much holy water you're pouring. It doesn't care how much smudge you're doing. It was able to smoke that shit up when it was alive. It was able to hang out in the church all day long without an issue and drink the holy water. That's not going to change after it dies, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. And there's so many different, you know, types of, you know, activities and what you're dealing with. And, you know, again, even when people have activity, and it is, you know, verifiable actual activity, spiritual activity, and right away, if, say, they get scratched or were pushed or, you know, something they feel is not nice, their brain immediately goes to, oh my gosh, we must, you know, have demonic activity. Yeah. And
or automatically they jump whenever something weird happens. You know, a picture falls off the wall, they get scratched. They hear 3 knocks is the big thing now. They automatically assume it's got to be demon. That's not true, fellas. It's not at all.
No.
First, don't hurt anyone as a human. Scratch anyone you want. Scratch your arm if you want. I guarantee it, you'll get 3 claw marks. Why? Because there's only 3 fingers long enough to penetrate. So why is that going to change after you die? 2, if theory is correct that we're dealing with energy, if you were to touch a bare wire, a 110 bare wire in your house, you're going to wind up with a mark on your body. It's going to enter and leave your body. You're going to have a mark, some kind of mark. So that very much well could be, you know, what you're dealing with too. You know, it might not be scratching, it might just be brushing you a little bit or stroking your arm. The energy is what's leaving that particular mark, if the energy theory is true. So you have that. So when it comes to knocks, everyone, pay attention the next time you knock on someone's door. I'll guarantee it's within 3. Guarantee it. All the time. You knock on someone's door, you go bang, bang, bang. Anyone there? You don't do it 2 times. You don't do it once. You don't do it 4 times. You always do it 3. Everything's better in intervals of 3. It's what's common to humans. Bottom line, you don't, when your kid does something wrong, you don't count to 5. No, you count to 3. When you're playing baseball, you don't have 6 strikes and you're out. You have 3 strikes and you're out. It's just a common thing for humans to relate with. Anything in 3. So that's also going to carry on, too, when you die. You know, it's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of our people in chat, Lady Ghost Hunter, was saying, you know, 3 claw marks are considered a mockery of the Holy Trinity, and you're marked for oppression or possession. But, you know, again, I will tell you, I have, you know, had clients where they've had scratch marks, they've had all of these things, and it has been a human spirit who didn't cross over, who was a very nasty person in life. And so when they're kind of stuck in between, they're stuck here, they're still very nasty when they're here. You know,
to be a cool dude now. You can't expect Jack the Ripper to be a cool dude. Hell no. It's not going to. They're not demons. They're far from being demons. They are human spirits. However, they're going to mess with you.
Absolutely. Well, I had a case at one point where there was this man was a murderer and serial rapist, and he had many victims, and he was about to be caught and arrested, and so he took his own life, thinking that, you know, hey, this is how I'm going to get out of this. And, you know, he still resided, you know, in the location that we did the investigation at. And, you know, the people that were there were, you know, saying, oh, we get, you know, all this weird things. The woman said, you know, she would feel like, you know, she'd wake up and feel as if, you know, something was trying to have sex with her, was, you know, would pin her down to the bed. So, again, first thing everybody thought was, you know, they have some demons there, and, you know, that was what was going on. And, again, 100% wrong. You know, it was this guy, and, you know, this is what he did in life, you know. And so in death, he had not crossed over, and so he still had that's who he was. And, you know, and then people, you know, right away they go to the fear mode, and which just makes these things stronger, and, you know, either way, because of all the fear and energy you're putting out, you know, being afraid of it. And I always tell people that, you know, the part that I love about educating people is that we fear what we don't understand. And once we do understand or we get educated, it changes the way we see things, and we don't fear them anymore. And so, you know, you take a lot of the power back. So it's always strange, you know, like, again, I think because to a lot of the shows that come out and things like that, and, you know, everybody wants to tell all the really scary, horrific, you know, stories or experiences they've had. And, you know, absolutely those exist. Are they every case? Absolutely not. You know, are they, you know, the norm? Absolutely not. It's just that those are the ones that we hear about, you know, because they bring people to listen, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know. But then it kind of puts that fear factor into everybody, because it's ridiculous how many people think they have demonic activity in their house based on little things, like something flew off the shelf, or, you know, again, something, you know, they got scratched, and again, this is where they don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, if it gets scratched, even if it's in 3s, even if it's in 6s or 7s or 8s, it doesn't mean it's a demon. It doesn't. 3 knocks isn't. It doesn't necessarily mean demon. You know, it's just human. You have to put human behavior into what has passed, because, you know, like we said, you know, human behavior is not going to change. I mean, you are who you are, and, you know, that's not going to change it up. So, yes, all these traits that you see, you know, things flying off the countertop or whatever the case may be, I mean, it's just human behavior. I mean, you get mad, you throw things. It's just the way you are. Or it could be just a sign of, you know, whatever's in the house is trying to get your attention. It wants to tell you something. Maybe it has a story it wants to share to you. It has to get something off its chest in order to, you know, cross over, if that's what you believe in. I don't know, but very much well, it could be a possibility, and I can't deny that.
Right, absolutely. So let's talk about, you know, maybe some of the most interesting cases that, you know, you've had, and obviously we won't use any names or anything, but some of, like, maybe your top cases that, you know, you did really find something maybe disturbing?
Well, we're going to go back into this whole demon thing, I guess you can say. I've been, you know, I've been in psych hospitals, I've been in asylums, I've been in, you know, old jails, old prisons. I've been in a lot of different places. Needless to say, psych hospitals I love the best because the energy in there is so diverse. However, the best place that I have ever investigated was an old farmhouse out in Jersey. It has, I mean, this particular, not just this location, but there's multiple houses. It has a pretty interesting history, I guess you can say. And we're going to go into a little bit of politics here, too, at the same time. So we're going to touch base on everything on this story.
Perfect.
And for all those who think you have freedom, listen to this story. The government, the federal government, mind you, the President of the United States, who says you have freedom, said, I got this idea. We don't have enough wildlife in this area, so we're going to flood up this dam, and all the people here, I don't give a fuck about them. They're going to get the hell out of their houses. They all got an eviction notice. Every single one of them didn't get currency, didn't get money, didn't get a damn thing for their property. They had 30 days to get the hell out. And we're talking about 100 houses here, you know what I mean? Well, 100 houses, something like that. For all those people who think they have a freedom. Think about that for a minute. So they got damn thing. So they all wound up leaving. There's a couple people that wound up committing suicide. That happened twice. I think there was 2 situations like that I've read. Because, you know, they were so upset because, you know, what do you do when the government says get out of your house? And the sad thing is, this is the funny thing, they never flooded the area out. Never did it. They just took over the property and left it. Didn't finish with the project. That's kind of messed up. But anyway, there's this one farmhouse out there on this particular area of land. The federal government owns it. Where I did my first live investigation. I've gone in there. You know, I'm investigating. I'm doing what I can. I got K2 meters on. I got cameras, so forth and so on. You know, my buddy got 3 scratches. You know, multiple times that night. He wasn't possessed. Never got possessed. Never got followed home either. Sorry, you know. But anyway, there was one night we were there, and the energy was real thick, extremely thick, and you could just feel it, you know, all around you. And we've previously, I mean, we've gotten. I guess you'd like to say there's a grumpy old man in there. I guess you can say would be the best to use. And there's a female who appears to be sad or depressed for some reason. I don't know why. And you know, every time we go there, there's always a few other types of entities in there, too, that wind up going there and leaving. For whatever reason, I have no idea. But they always wind up in that house and then out the next time. But anyway, one night, I mean, I was there one night, and it was like 2 in the morning, and like I said, the energy was, like, extremely heavy. You can feel it surrounding you. You can feel it, you know, circling you. You could probably run your house off of this damn building at this time. And, you know, it was like I said, 2, 3 in the morning, I started to get real sick, real lightheaded. My knees were buckling. I got pale. My skin was white. And I just couldn't take it no more. I had to walk out of the building. I had to get out. And that was the first time I ever actually had to... I didn't leave the investigation, but I had to get out of the building. And it was the first time that's ever happened. Was I scared? I wasn't scared. I kind of, you know, expected it to happen because, well, I'm an investigator. Weird things are going to happen to you. But, you know, I had to get out of the building for about a good half hour and just sit down and have a cup of coffee and, you know, snack on some potato chips, something to build up my own energy because, you know, like I said, I was literally about ready to pass out and faint, and it was pretty bad.
Wow. And so, I mean, again, people in chat are saying, you know, that when you have stuff like this, you know, happening, you could become oppressed or possessed, you know, later on or at any time. And, you know, at times it's true because, you know, a lot of times things like this will wait. There is no time on the other side. So it's like they can just wait until you are the most vulnerable. Could be, you know, tomorrow, 10 years, 20 years. You never know when. But when you guys go out to investigate, what do you do as far as for protection?
Well, everybody in my team has their own little thing that they like to do. Now, again, I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in organized religion. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't believe in organized religion. I believe in having a belief, though. It's just not organized religion. I think that's just a prehistoric form of politics, personally.
Yeah, and I've been there too, so I get it.
But I do think you should have a belief. And for me, what works for me is I believe in myself. I know I'm more powerful than whatever's out there. I am. Not only do I have a spirit, but I have something protecting it. So I believe in myself. And you know, as long as I do that, as long as I know that I'm stronger than what's out there, it seems to be working. I can't guarantee it'll always work. And I always keep a stone in my pocket for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just do. A black onyx I keep in my pocket. But that's what works for me. But, you know, everybody on my team has their own different. Some people wear, the Star of David they have wrapped around them, or some people have, other forms of thing. I also have a cross tattoo on my arm, and I actually put holy water in with the ink. I don't know if that helps, I can tell you, but I have it.
Right. Well, you know, I agree with you. You know, I grew up Catholic, a very, very strong Italian, a very, very strong Catholic background. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because my group is a very diverse group. We have all different backgrounds, you know, some are Buddhist, some are Christian. I mean, we got a great collaboration. And people would always ask me, you know, how in the world can you guys work so well together when you all have different religious beliefs? And again, I agree with you that I feel that the belief is what is important. And if everybody comes together with the same intent, is to help this person, that is powerful. That is powerful so much more so, I think, than just, you know, trying to pull together a group of all one religion. Because I will tell you, we get clients of all backgrounds, all religious backgrounds, and, you know, so, you know, it's like if you have somebody who, say, maybe is Muslim or something, and you go in, you know, reciting the Bible and throwing holy water, you know, they're probably not going to be so happy about that. So by having it, you know, kind of non-denominational per se as a group, we go in and we bring, you know, our beliefs and background, if specifically for each person, and bring it in together. And together mutually we work for the same, you know, intent. And I mean, we have amazing results. I really have to say, you know, most of our cases have been fairly easy to deal with. I think that our longest client we ever had, we worked with for a year. But that was more so because the client just did not want to make the changes necessary, you know, to get rid of all of the stuff that was going on. And again, they were kind of creating a lot of it in adding to what they already had. So I do think that the intent and the belief is important. Not that they need to all believe in the exact same thing or have the exact same belief system, because, again, you have to be prepared that you're going to have all different types of clients with all different religious backgrounds. So, you know, what do? If you're, say, very religious in the Catholic background and you get somebody who is not of the Catholic background, you know, how are you going to work that? You know, you can't just say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't help you because you're not, you know, you don't believe in the same thing we do. I mean, it sounds like that's kind of your feeling, too, is that the intent and the belief, you know, is more powerful than having just a group of, you know, from the religious background, you know, everybody being the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just that belief in whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's Allah or God or whatever the hell else is out there. I have no idea what all the religions can tell you, but it doesn't matter. As long as you have some kind of belief in something, and I think that's what kind of keeps you more protected than anything. Just the idea that you're going to be safe, just that strong empowerment that you're going to be okay. I think that's all you need. And if you need a God or an Allah or, some other thing to help you obtain that inner strength, then have at it. Knock yourself out. I don't stop you at all. I just don't like, organized religion. I won't condone anyone for being a part of organized religion.
Oh, yeah.
But, I just don't believe in it. I can tell you a funny organized religion story. This is actually what pushed me over the edge of why I don't like organized religion. And this is it. I lived down south for probably about a year. This is going back about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And, anyway, I worked for this guy, and everybody down there is Baptist. I don't know why they're Baptist, but they're really Baptists. Don't ask me. I worked for this guy. I was welding oil trucks or something like that. And I told him I made the mistake, and 2 weeks after he hired me, I made the mistake of telling him that I'm a paranormal investigator. He said, Jay, if I would have known that, I would have never hired you. I said, that's kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? And, every day he was, like, blessing himself whenever I walked through the door afterwards. And I was like, dude, everything's going to be okay, man. Relax. Calm down. And that's what kind of pushed me over the limit of why I don't like organized religion at all.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of the same way. Again, like I said, since I grew up Catholic, any time that I try, I was brought up that any issues you have, like you go to the priest and they can solve anything, right? And, of course, so I would go to them about being able to see these things that nobody else could see and spirits. And, of course, it was right away I was told, that spirits don't exist, that they are all demons. I should not be interacting with them. They're all tricking me. And I was just kind of like, okay, there's no such thing as spirits, but, when we pray, we say in the name of, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I was always one of those kids that was very inquisitive. I always wanted answers because so many things that were happening around me I didn't understand. And instead, I was just they didn't want to give me answers. They just wanted me to stop talking about it. And it even, got to the point because I'm left-handed. And so they literally would make me write with my right hand. And he said, all right, now, I want you to go and pray and do 15 Our Fathers, 15 Hail Marys, and act of contrition and all that. And I'm like, okay. So, of course, the priest is telling me this is going to fix everything. So I do everything they told me and went home, very secure that, it was all over and done with. And I'll tell you, it's like I pissed these things off more than ever. And it's to the point that at that point the next day, I left my grandmother's because it was like the activity got like 10 times worse. And so as time went on, again, I didn't really know what it was that I was experiencing, and the fact that I was being shut down by like the organized religion, and not just Catholicism, but as well as I probably went to just about every religious background church that is of organized religion that is out there. I wanted to experience everything, all the different ones, and be able to choose for myself where I fit in the best. And I found out that I really didn't fit in with any of them. And I felt that, I believe in a creator, I believe, in God, but I didn't feel like I needed to belong to a church or a congregation in order to have a relationship, with them. So I just kind of was like, all right, I'm done with this. I believe what I believe. I know that these abilities that I have are real. I'm not crazy, and I'm going to stop worrying about, trying to fit in and all of that and just move forward. And I'll tell you, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because, and people think that because I'm not, I don't claim any specific religion, that's a horrible thing. But, I always tell people, like, I completely believe, But, as far as, like, the, quote-unquote, the Bible, the fact that it has been written by man, it's been altered so many times, there are many, many, many things that have been removed from the Bible, you know, and so that people didn't know it. So for me, it's very hard to take anything that again is written, you know, by man, because lots of things can get, you know, changed, you know, lost in translation, or changed to fit a specific, you know, religious background. And you see all these new religions popping up all the time, and, you know, what they're doing is just going through the Bible and they're taking out what they don't agree with and creating a new religion. So I, again, think that, you know, as long as you believe and you know, you have that connection and the intent for, you know, the positive things, like that for me was what was important. Not going every Sunday and, you know, having to, you know, give money. And that was something always kind of was crazy too. Was I actually went to a church one time that they had somebody who kept track of like your tithing and your donations, and you could not just like you know, as they pass the basket around, that you could just like put $1 in or whatever. You had to put it in an envelope and put your name on it. Yeah. And they would literally the following Sunday they would call you out, or the end of the month they would call you out and say, well, we know that you have a successful job and you only over last month, you know, donated, you know, $20 in tithing, and according to the Bible, you're supposed to do more. And I just thought, are you kidding me? Really? Like, where does that come in to play? And then a lot of politics, you know, started coming in, you know, as well into organized religion that I was checking out. And I don't know, I just really couldn't find anywhere where I really felt like I truly fit in.
Oh, yeah, now they pass that basket around 3 or 4 times during the whole ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
I've only been here an hour, dude, and I've seen this basket 4 times. How much do you want? Organization, you're not paying taxes. Most of the crap is given to you. You're getting funds from the government every year to keep you going. How much more money do you need? And then you see the priest come out with a fucking 19 brand new Lexus. I'm like, oh, I see where the money's going. Yeah, that's it. That's nice.
Right. And it seems to be a competition. You know, who has the best car, who has, you know, who dresses better, and if you don't come in, you know, decked out and have a Mercedes, then they look down on you. Like, I have probably never been judged as much as I've been judged when I went to church, which is sad.
It's critical.
So sad.
It's 100% critical. I mean, religious, when it gets into organized religion, they will criticize you until, you know, basically you cater to, not God, but cater to the priest. And that's kind of messed up.
I so agree. I'm looking at, you know, many people in the church or in the church, in the chat room are talking about, you know, this as well. And Lady Ghost Hunter was saying, you know, that she went to every church like, you know, me, and she says demons unfortunately go to church, you know, too. And Robin's in there as well, said that church almost took away her, you know, spirituality. And, you know, I think that's, again, you're put under so many restraints. And, you know, I remember growing up being told, like, that, you know, if I kept interacting, you know, with the spirits, that I was going to go straight to hell. You know, everything was, you know, you'll go to hell, you'll go to hell, you'll go to hell. But, and then the next thing, you know, you're told that, you know, this God is a very, you know,
some tangible father figure.
Well, right, but, you know, that is very forgiving, and, you know, all you have to do is ask for forgiveness. And so, like, okay, well, if you do that, why in the world would you send me to hell, you know? So I was just kind of like...
How is he forgiven? Has anyone read the Bible? He is not his number one cause of death to die. You know what I mean? He has wiped out communities and nations. He has wiped... There's a war right now going on across the ocean over God. How is he forgiven?
Yeah, I agree. And so for me, again, it was just everything was so contradictory, and it was more, another way to control people through fear.
Well, that's what it is. And I'll piss off a lot of people right now just by saying it. What we have with any organized religion out there, we have control out of the fear of some ghostly figure sending you to hell. It's rather you do this, or you're going to go to hell, or you're going to get wiped out or annihilated. This is what is being drilled into everybody's head. Now, I don't know what anyone says, but if that was any other kind of new thing popping up, it would automatically be considered an occult.
Mm-hmm. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I heard some clicking, and I thought all of a sudden that I lost you. So,
it's crazy.
And I felt like, I did have, a connection. As I said, I do, believe in a creator, and I was never going to let anybody take, my spirituality from me. I just chose not to be part of any organized, religion. And again, that's something that people, have a hard time understanding. It's very interesting, and I feel like people who are in my, online group for P.P.R.S. members, many of them are telling the same, types of stories, and just like a lady ghost hunter, so many of us, it's not like, okay, well, if we're wanting to turn our back or anything, we're trying to understand, we're trying to find where, we fit in. And a lot of times when, things that you've been brought up to believe or whatever just don't make sense to you as you get older, you're trying to, look for those answers. And I especially, I would say with, psychics and, people with very strong abilities, because it's something that not only do people not understand what it is, what's going on, but then to have to struggle that, it's not like you ask for these abilities, but you have them, and then being told you're going to go to hell because of them, it's very confusing. And so, again, I see so many people who, try to, they feel that, without any kind of connection with organized religion, that somehow they're going to, end up in hell or wherever, because of that. And, I'm starting to see a change. I think that, more people are kind of waking up and seeing that, you don't have to go to, a church every Sunday in order, to be a good person, or things like that. If you've done something wrong, you need forgiveness. All you got to do is, ask for it. Having people who maybe don't have, a lot of money, maybe live paycheck to paycheck, and do what they can to, have a church, keep track and kind of force you into giving them money to build on to their church or do something else where it would take money from your own family's, table, to me just, again, doesn't make any kind of sense. So, you try to, kind of stay away from that as far as, for me. I've always felt like kind of like an outcast. It was made to feel like an outcast because of, again, the things that I was dealing with. And, now I think that we're starting to see that more people, we all have abilities. Every single one of us. Another one of my pet peeves is when people say, I was chosen by God, to have these abilities. I'm special, and no, you're not. I get a lot of flack from that too, but we're all born with these abilities. It really, some are stronger than others. It does have a lot to do with, when you're growing up, like, your religion, what the opinion of people about this is around you, all these different things. And, of course, being 47, there was, no internet, there was no real books on psychic abilities, things like that. But I was finding through research over, probably the last 25 years, is that for most that, again, feel that they don't have any abilities, usually by the time that they enter school, they're pretty much dormant. Your pineal gland is no longer, not keeping them active, but people still have, residual kind of energy and abilities that they don't really pay attention to. Like, I always say to people, like, when you go, have you ever gone into a room or met someone or went somewhere and you got this kind of feeling in the pit of your stomach that, like, the person's not a great person, or maybe this isn't a good idea, or things like that, and they'll say, yeah, and I'm like, that's a form of, psychic abilities. People's perceptions of what things are, very misconstrued at times. But, people who do want to, better connect, there are absolutely, ways to do that. But again, for some people, I tell them they really need to think about it. I get a lot of people that, like I'm mentoring their children or whatever, and the parent wants to be more connected, and you can, but, it's not something like that you can just turn on and turn off like it's, like having a switch, once this stuff is activated, and that's why so many people who do have abilities feel it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because they like that they can help people, but it is something that is constant, and you don't really get a break, from it. So, you got to be careful what you wish for. But I think that, like, now there's more information, and we are going through a shift, and many people are actually starting to feel much more connected, and, when they sense things. A lot of investigators, are using this. Now, as far as equipment, Jason, what kind of equipment do you and your team use when you go out on a case?
It all depends. If it's just, I've got a barrage of different stuff, but typically when it's just I'm going on a private residential, I'll bring out, my DVR, but I'll only wind up using 3 or 4 cameras. I don't really try to use a lot of DVR cameras on residential cases. If I'm using, residential cases, I also bring my K2 meter or my Mel meter, and I have dowsing rods and pendulums that I always bring out. I always try to bring some of the old school stuff with me, because they're kind of more flawless than some of the more modern equipment. They're not electric operated, but some of the more basic stuff is a lot better to use, in my honest opinion. But I mean, I've got a barrage of different stuff. If I'm going into a much more, bigger location, we'll take a sanatorium or an asylum or something like that. I'll load it up with cameras, IRs. I mean, I will literally light that place up like a 4th of July celebration with IR cameras. I'll bring out static meters and K2s and Mel meters and, all kinds of crap I have. I mean, I've got it named, and I pretty much will use it on more bigger locations. And I always bring that stuff with me, too, whenever I do events, so that people can have the opportunity to play with them as well.
Absolutely, and they enjoy that, I think, a lot of times, because many people, have no real clue, or they go out and, they buy these little ghost hunting kits, equipment kits, and they don't have any idea what any of them do. So they're just kind of like, okay, well, what does this mean? What does, the EMF read? What does that mean? And this is something, how do you feel about all of the different apps that are coming out?
I don't like phone apps. Why? I'll tell you why. One, it's on your phone, and 2, your phone lets off a lot of EMF readings. So, I mean, to get a phone app, let's say an EMF phone app, it's not going to be accurate, for one. A lot of the ghost boxes, so forth and so on, I don't like, because, let's just face it, it's just a little gimmick kind of toy. There was no thought in it. It was just designed on a computer for fun. That's all it was. So I don't like them too much. However, I have heard stories where people have had pretty impressive things happen with them. And that's fine and dandy. I can't justify it because I wasn't there to witness it. But personally, I don't like them.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you researched and tried using any of them when you are out investigating, or is it just a...
I have tried using them. I have tried using them. If you take the Ghost Box phone app, or whatever the hell it's called, I don't know.
Ghost Radar?
It's the Ghost Radar, I think.
Right.
It just randomly spits out words that are completely, doesn't make any sense at all to even the building. I mean, it's just crazy. So, I mean, I can't, qualify that as being any kind of evidence. If I'm going to get something, for example, any kind of evidence, it definitely has to correlate with something that's going on, whether, if it's mocking a member of the team because of something he's doing, it's answering specific questions, or it's trying to engage in a conversation that two other people are having that is completely unrelated, or whatever the case may be. If they're just, talking about their family and they're getting, some kind of EVP or word over the app that says, hey, I got kids too, then fine. I guess you can say I'll allow that to pass off, but I don't like random words. I have to have hard data in order to, solidify any kind of haunting.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I mean, again, I have used a few of them. I would say it's kind of like a 80-20 because, again, being a psychic medium where I can visually see them, and if I can't see, I can pick up on them. A lot of times you'll have these things going, and I will get a response from the spirit, and what I'm getting through these little apps is nothing. Absolutely not even anywhere near it. Then they've got the little, radar with the little bleeps, and, sometimes, like, there'll be 10 of them, and then sometimes there'll be one, and, I'm looking, I'm like, nah. I don't know what they're picking up on, but there's not that many. They're not right there. They're in a completely different area. All these kind of things. But now, what about, say, doing like the EVPs?
I have a bunch of recorders that has a bunch of more, programs that are built into it that is irrelevant. These particular recorders were designed for musicians. They weren't designed for ghost hunting, so when you're getting into, the H4 and so forth and so on, it's got, they have pitch software in it that's not made for, it's not relevant to ghost hunting. It's relevant to playing guitar or playing bass or singing and so forth and so on. So you can go ahead and waste your money. You can spend the $400 or $500 on those high-end recorders for basically the same thing that, you can spend the $100 on the H1. But it is a more high-end recorder. It's a real-time recorder, so you can put the earphones in your ear, and it is kind of freaky the first time you use it. I'm not going to lie. You sit down and, do an EVP session, and you're actually hearing spirits talk to you. It freaks you out. I'm not going to lie the first couple times using it. But after a while, you get used to it, and it's actually kind of impressive.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the reasons I asked is that one of my co-hosts, Sean Austin, who co-hosts with me on the Darker Side of the Paranormal, has actually created a EVP app, and it's actually based on software that is already out there, but he did some changing in order to use it, for doing investigations. And what's very interesting is that not only it's live, if it captures something, it will automatically let you know so that you can go back and listen. But it also has the capability of finding things when you're playing it forward or when you're playing it in reverse. And a lot of people don't realize that when they capture EVPs and they can't make out what it says, a lot of times, it's when you played it in reverse, you'll capture a full sentence, and it makes all the sense in the world. Have you ever used the reverse technology for the EVPs?
I have used it on the program softwares that I have on my computer. I download all my recorders onto that, and yeah, sometimes I will play it in reverse just to say. And yeah, you can make out words, but even now, I still look at it. I look at everything as being questionable. I don't know why. It's just I'm worse on my own evidence than anybody else. It's crazy, but it is pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing, because you get people that I see all the time that post stuff, on their pages, and all I can do is shake my head because I'm like, really? Like, how in the world did you think this is something? And now we've got all of these apps where you can place, quote-unquote ghosts in your pictures from your phone. And I'll tell you, it's so irritating that people are using this.
I can't believe they are.
Online. Yeah. I see it all the time, probably a few times a day.
It's making it the field.
Yes, absolutely. As if it wasn't already hard enough to get people to believe and understand what we're doing, and they'll all think that, people are trying to scam people and stuff like that. And then you get something like this, and actual teams and investigators are using these apps and then putting it out to the public, and so many people have no idea. So they see, a picture of a little girl or this crazy-looking, face or something like that, and I look and they're just like blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great capture and things like that. And I'm like, really? I could see maybe somebody who, a teenager or something that's, not a true investigator or anything like that, doing it for fun or something, but these are actually investigators and an actual team. So I think, wow, like, are you not doing, even a bigger disservice to our field? Because now it's even harder for people if you do capture something, pretty amazing. People are going to tear it apart because of that fact.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I actually have a couple of those apps on my phone, and I'll tell you why. Because those particular pictures were popping up. They were starting to pop up all over the place. This was like last year.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, I can tell right away that it's not a real ghost. So I went searching for the phone apps, and I got it. And then someone posted another one, and they're like, look at this ghost I got. I don't know what it is. Can anyone explain it to me? And I posted, I seriously pulled up one of my pictures that I have, and I loaded it up with that particular ghost that she captured. And I said, look, I got a whole family of them at my house, too. Look. And it pissed her off real bad.
I love it. I actually, one of the groups I had seen that some lady had posted a picture and said she had caught it at her house, and it had the spirit, and it was, pretty clear. And I'm thinking, again, when I look at pictures, especially of so-called paranormal stuff or of spirits, if they're the real deal, just by looking at the picture, I can usually pick up on the energy of that spirit. But, I wasn't getting anything, and I'm like, boy, this sure is a clear picture. And so I did some research as well on these apps, and you know how they'll give you, like a choice of however many ghosts that you can put in there, right? So I went through her pictures, and she actually had, made these pictures with one of each of the options of these ghosts that you could put in there. And so I took a screenshot of all of the ghosts that you could choose from, and then made a little collage of all of her pictures, and next to it, oh my gosh, I got a really nasty message. She deleted it all and then blocked me.
Oh, they hate it when you go ahead and prove them wrong. They hate it when you blow up their whole spotlight. They can't stand it. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, you got to call these people out sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that there's again, everybody then seems to think that they're, experts on, is this real, is this, not real. I think that instead of everybody trying to really, trash everybody, because things that are not purposely done, I see a lot of pictures that are posted up where somebody feels that they've caught something, and they've blown it up and they'll say, oh, what do you see? And, they'll get 50 responses and pretty much all of them are different. So everybody sees something different in there. I think that anybody that's going to be a paranormal investigator, it is well worth their while to take a photography class.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many reasons for things, looking at matrixing, all different things that a person looking at it can make it into something that it's not.
Absolutely. It's just the way the brain works. If it sees a bunch of blurry crap, it's going to try to make sense out of that. The same thing with hearing. If you hear static enough, after a while it automatically tries to make sense out of that. And what makes sense? Human voices, human figures, so forth and so on. That's what's common in the human mind. So when you blow something up and you see all these pixels all over the place, it's going to try to, put a face in there. Your brain's automatically going to do it. Is it there? No, it's not there. It's just what's natural. It's what you do as a human.
Right. I so agree. And, I think that photography class is very, very important because, again, we don't see it as much now, but I would say, like the last 5 years, I cannot even fathom all the damn quote-unquote orb pictures I've seen that are absolutely not, they're dust, and, I've seen people, out in the snow, and then they breathe and they take a picture and they're like, oh my gosh, look at, there's spirits around us, there's demons around us. I've seen people smoking cigarettes, and in the cold and stuff, and then snap a picture and it, shows us and they think that it's something. I've seen, bugs and stuff that, are flying, and a person takes a picture with a flash, and so, it leaves this kind of trail, like light trail, and people will think that, it's what they call the rods, and all these different things. There's just so many things, and it's like, I think that it's only a benefit, because then you actually have some knowledge, and you're not putting things out there. Because, again, if you're supposed to be the professional and you're out there putting out evidence for people to see, you at least want to know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because otherwise...
I've got a couple of basic rules when it comes to putting out any evidence. If you have to blow it up and draw a circle around it, let it go, for one.
Right.
Two, if you have to enhance the audio to beyond fucking hearing abilities, let it go. And that's just it, I don't want to hear, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see a picture blown up 10 times bigger. I don't want to see that. I want to see something that's definite. I've been in the field, 15, 20 years, something like that, a long time, and I've only gotten a few good pictures. I've gotten a lot of EVPs. Yeah, they're more common, but in the same token, I follow that same rule. I don't want to have to blow it up. If I have to blow it up in my own picture, I don't use it as evidence. If I have to enhance the audio, I don't use it as evidence. It's either there or it's not there. I'm not going to try to put it there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and you'll notice, too, in my group and on my page, I rarely, number one, share, evidence from cases, things like that, on social media anyway.
Residentials, you'll never see me put a picture of a residential case up on the web. It's not going to happen. Why is it? Because I take confidentiality extremely serious. That client came to me, for help. She doesn't want people to think that she's a nut. I'm not going to make that happen. If I go into an asylum or a sanatorium or something like that where, okay, no big deal, then fine, I'll post those pictures. Most of the times there won't be nothing in them, but I'll get people commenting on them that says, oh, do you see that in this picture? I reviewed it, dude. I didn't see nothing, and neither should you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But, you know, residential cases, I will not do it.
Yeah, I'm exactly still the same way. And even just with other stuff, because, again, you know, you put it up, I see people out there, and all that I feel that they're doing is trying to one-up everybody else. You know, then you get people who, on the pages, that some of them, you know about the stuff, some don't. You get, you know, everybody sees something different. It always ends up getting blown up into some big debate, and it's like, really, like, what, you know, why is it important for, you know, the world to confirm what you feel, unless you're asking a question if you don't. And, you know, again, if you go out there and you don't know if you've caught something or captured something and you want to put it out there for, you know, people to give you feedback, you know, so be it. But again, you're probably going to get a million different answers of what people think things are.
If you do get a million different answers of what people see, if everybody's seeing something different, there's a good chance it's not there. You know, it's everybody seeing something different because their mind is automatically trying to make sense out of a blurry picture. Bottom line. So considering everybody is different, they're going to get a different answer. And that's what I'm talking. That's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, if you have to blow it up and put a circle around it, it's not there. Let it go. Don't put something out there that you're going to get a million different responses. It's rather there or it's not. Bottom line.
Right. And, you know, again, there are so many different things. You know, when you do take a photography class, there is so much that you learn. You know, shutter speeds, you know, people don't even understand, like, just how changing your shutter speed or, you know, with a flash or all these different things can change how your picture is going to come out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, don't realize that. And, you know, so it makes it hard. And again, for people who are out there and they're just kind of trying to learn, you know, there are plenty of places. There are spirits everywhere. It always just drives me crazy when people feel like they got to find the most decrepit, broken down, you know, houses that they possibly find that look creepy to, you know, go to investigate, you know, for the creep feeling. Because I'm like, first of all, you know, putting yourself and your team in danger of, you know, being in an abandoned house. You might fall through the floor, all these kind of things, condemned houses, abandoned houses, when there is activity everywhere. Everywhere. Like, if you just want to go out and, you know, investigate and research and learn, plenty of places you can go. But again, my pet peeve is taking on private clients. Try to learn through those. I'm just like, what the hell? Like, that's definitely not what you want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to screw over a client. You want to keep the client, you know, any client, you know, undercover so that, you know, no one knows who she is or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Because, you know, they came to you for help and they want that help and they don't want to feel like, you know, there's some kind of crazy wacko at the end of the investigation. And people have to take that seriously. It's just a common trust between investigator and client because it's going to mess it up for the other investigators later on in the future. People are less reluctant now of allowing you into their house or, you know, business or whatever the case may be, all because of that. I've got there's an old fort not that far from me. Not very big. It's kind of small. I think it was with an armory, if I'm not mistaken. But it was an old Revolutionary War one, and the Historical Society owns it. And I called them up and I said, hey, would you mind if I went in there and investigate? I'll give you a nice, good donation for the thing and so forth and so on. And they would have let me, but they had another team in there previously that destroyed crap. And like, why would you do that? Why would anyone do that? And messed it up for everybody.
Yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing, too. Maybe you can give your opinion. I also started seeing a increase in businesses coming to us, wanting us to come in and validate if there was activity. Now, not that this is uncommon, because I've done, you know, many businesses over the years. But most of the time when we would get businesses, they would want the activity, to get rid of the activity. Now they are wanting you to come in to validate there is activity, but they don't want you to try to get rid of it. They want to keep it so that they can now profit from it.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on that?
I mean, if someone's profiting, and a lot of places do it now, and I'm not going to mention any, but a lot of places, take pride in profiting. They say to fix up the building, but every time you go there, the building's not fixed.
Right.
And they're making the money for it. But I'm completely against it, which is why, I'm actually glad I hooked up with the person down in Virginia who really does want to restore the building. And, I'm actually doing a benefit on September 20th down there where you don't even need to pay to get in. All you need to do is buy a $50 gift card from Home Depot or Lowe's. What are gift cards good for? Only at the store you buy it from. So you get the gift card for that one. The only thing you can do with it is buy building materials. That's it. Mm-hmm. So things like that I do admire. I do support 100%, and I will go to the lengths that I could possibly do to help you out. And that's the kind of guy I am. But if you're in it for profit, if you're in it to make a quick buck, honestly, I encourage them to do it. Why? Because, eventually the paranormal craze is going to die out, and they're going to be left with a shitty building they can't sell.
Right. I've always heard, I've stopped taking businesses on. That's one of the things that I do ask them. If we were to come in and we do validate it, are you wanting something done, about it? And as soon as they say, oh, no, we're thinking about, adding, investigating to get, money and more people in here, I just tell them that they're going to have to find somebody else because I really, for me, and maybe it's because I am a psychic, a big part of what I do is, to help not only the clients that are dealing with these kind of activity, but also for the spirits that are stuck here, that haven't crossed over and need that help. I mean, it's like, finding it, capturing things and making it into a circus and, holding them here even longer. And for me, it's very, very hard to know that there is a spirit there that is asking me for my help. And then I do nothing and walk away and leave them.
No, you can't do it. If a spirit needs help or wants help, you absolutely should try to help them out in any way you can. Sure, there are those spirits that don't want help. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. They like being here for whatever reason.
Right.
Maybe we're funny to them. I have no idea. But there are those out there, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Again, it has free will. It can do whatever it chooses. But, yeah, there's some out there that... And sometimes the help isn't even major. I'm sure you can agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that particular entity is just holding some kind of burden on its chest, on its soul, that all it needs to do is just tell somebody. And he's perfectly fine. He has a clear conscience. And he can do whatever he wants. Sometimes that's all it is, something stupid, just to sit down and have a conversation. That's it. Other times it's a little bit more trickier.
Right. Well, I get many. I've had many, spirits that I've encountered that, for unfinished business or they want a message relayed, and until that happens, they won't cross over. They won't move on. And so it can be as simple as just giving the person that is there the message, and then they're okay. They move on. I just feel like when people are passing, either they don't realize that they've died. Also, I see a lot of people who've committed suicide that seem to get kind of stuck. I think that being able to help them is an amazing thing. Whatever it is that they need to move on and do whatever it is that, at that point that happens. For me, I just kind of feel like it's somebody being held, being kidnapped and trapped, and they can't, move on. And I get, a lot of times, a lot of sadness. And, I did an investigation in Oregon at a Fat City diner. And there had been actually multiple deaths and 2 murders in in that little restaurant itself. And one of the women, and there was multiple, there was something very dark there, and he seemed to kind of be like keeping them there, like he kind of keeping them like a kidnapper. He wouldn't let them, go anywhere. Some were very apprehensive to talk or come out, and interact with me. But this one woman who, her and her lover were killed in that place and then thrown down into the basement where they were later found, was literally begging me to help her. And I went out there and investigated, and Clyde Lewis, who is a radio show host out there in Oregon on the radio, he's kind of a skeptic, but he had met me at a conference, was very impressed, so he wanted to invite me or basically test me to see if I was the real deal. And I went out there, and we did an EVP session and things the night prior to the investigation, and he wasn't there. When he came back, the information that I was able to get was stuff that nobody other than the actual owner and himself knew. So he's like, oh, okay, but I said, we should help her, help cross her over. And he was like, oh, no, you can't do that. And there was, many asking specifically for my help. And so he calls me and says, I went through everything and you were right. Like, this woman really does want your help. And so, I'd like to have you come back and, we're going to cross them over. And he said, but there's a specific way we need to do it. And I'm like, okay. So he wanted to make this big ordeal, and he said that he was having this guy make a replica of the Ark of the Covenant, and that they were going to put some crosses and, medallions and all these different things into it. And he said that it gets better, Jason, it gets better. He said that they were going to bring a rabbi to come so that he could, do whatever he did. And he said, we're going to open the Ark of the Covenant, and we're going to tell them that we can cross them over. We're going to invite them to jump in the box, and then we're going to close it. And then we're going to have a hearse outside, and we're going to put the Ark of the Covenant box into the hearse, and we're going to drive it up the street to the cemetery, and we're going to open the box over there, and we're going to let them get out and cross over and get away. And I laughed so hard, I think it kind of pissed him off, but I was like, really? Like, really? I'm like trying to understand all this, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to be part of this. Like, it doesn't need all that. I really, to be honest, before I left, was just going to go down there and do it real quick, but I didn't want to make waves. So he literally, did this whole, special for his show where they videotaped it. And now, mind you, we know that there was a very dark entity there. He invited the public to come, where people came and they brought their children from the ages of 8 on up, around all this stuff. And I said, he says, oh, it'll definitely work. And I said, okay, first of all, crossing them over does not mean you take them and you take them across the street and open a box. Second of all, I said, do you really think that if you open a box and you say, jump in here, that, all of these spirits are going to jump in the box with the dark thing that's been holding them there all this time anyway? And, he really believed in all this, and they made this big ordeal, and as you and I will probably, you can guess, they still have activity there. It didn't work. It was a bunch of BS. It was funny because I saw that they were in the dark, and you can see there's a really dusty floor in the basement, and you have all these people walking around, and so they're taking pictures with their flash, so they got some orbs, and they were like, oh, look, they're interested in the box. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It was something right out of for television. I was like, wow, this is where our field is going. It's horrible. It's a horrible thought, but
what is wrong with people?
Yes, and again, I was more concerned with children being there. I mentor children with abilities from 5 to 17, and then adults as well. But I will tell you, bringing a child children are very sensitive, but to bring children to an investigation, to me, is an absolute no-no. The children don't know how to protect themselves. They're very vulnerable. If you're going to get an attachment, things like that, they're perfect targets. And I know that very well myself because I had an attachment, as a child growing up, and it almost ended up making me take my life. So this stuff is serious, and I think, what in the hell is wrong with these parents? That, it's like, oh, what are we going to do this weekend? Oh, let's go to a paranormal investigation, and take the kids. What a fun family thing to do.
It's not exactly a wise choice.
No.
My oldest kid is 15. I would take her to something a bit more melodramatic. I guess you could say something a little bit more mellow.
Uh-huh.
But about it, I would do, and it'd have to be a very small group. And when it comes to kids, if I were, but I would do some kind of child type of, from ages of 8 to 12. And during the day, only during the day, I would take them to the cemetery and let them wreak havoc with my equipment.
Yeah.
Get 2 meters. But the only reason why I would do it, a lot of people sit down and say, well, there's nothing different than during the day than at night. And you're absolutely right, there's not. But during the day, I can see them a lot better. And I can see the expressions on their face. I can see, any kind of weird thing that may start to transform, and I can help them a lot better. I can't do that at night. I can't. So, I would do that during the day. I would take them to a cemetery just to teach them and show them. But that's it. And again, cemeteries it's not a threatening place. Kids go in cemeteries all the time. I've been in cemeteries as a kid. I've been at plenty of funerals as a kid. Nothing's ever happened. So, it's not exactly a threatening type of environment. But, yeah, I would open them up to, teach them how to use the equipment, how to, protect themselves for one, and keep themselves safe.
Right. Now, again, I mentor children with abilities. So once, like for my older, like the teens, 15 and up, after they've gone through a year of my mentoring program, at that point, we've worked on like meditation and protection and, do's and don'ts and all of these kind of things. At the end of that, I will usually set up something where I, again, like you, during the day, will take them, to a cemetery or to a place that I know so that they can, use some equipment. One of my teams is starting a group at our high school, where I've mentored her mother, and her mother is going to be the parent thing where they'll do like learning and stuff, and then at the end of the year they will do like a day trip as well. But I would never take them on an evening investigation, nor to anywhere where I knew, that there's a history of, like, never to an asylum, things like that where you would expect some darker stuff. But again, it's like, it is so hard because kids see all these shows on TV and they're very, very drawn to it.
Yeah.
That's so cool, so they want to do it. And so parents, I don't think, really take this serious, so they don't realize all the things that can happen. I'm just seeing in the chat, and they're talking about, kids and Ouija boards, and this has been a really pet peeve and hot topic that I've talked about many times on the shows, is that they are now kind of reinventing, the Ouija boards as and targeting the younger children. They now have a Barbie Ouija board for little girls, and they have a glow-in-the-dark Ouija board for little boys, and they sell them at Toys R Us.
I'd like to say something about Ouija boards. I've been researching Ouija boards for the last year, and about 75 to 80% of the Earth's population has played with Ouija boards as a teenager. 80%. damn near more than half of the population has played with Ouija boards. And out of that percentage, 70% has not had a bad experience. I've been researching Ouija boards for the last year. I've bought one. I don't use them on investigations, everyone. I don't do that. I don't put anyone in any danger, potential danger. Very strict at that. If I'm going to mess up, it's going to be on me, no one else.
Right.
But I've been researching. I went out, I bought a Ouija board. I set it up. I put the pen shutter right dead center. I put a camera on it, and I left my house. I left my house for 4 hours. And do you know what happened after I reviewed the evidence, reviewed that video? Not a damn thing. Nothing. So I thought to myself, it needs energy. Okay, it needs energy. Let's try it like this. And instead of just leaving it, I will put a EM pump right next to it. An EM pump. Now, what of my EM pump? My EM pump will bury a millimeter 5 feet away. I got very high-powered EM pump. So I put that next to the Ouija board, put a camera on it, left the house for 4 hours, and came back. And do you know what I found after I reviewed that footage? Not a damn thing. Nothing. So it's definitely not a gateway. It needs human contact, which leads me to believe it's not it's not the board. It's the operator. The operator is the one that's messing up. The operator is not making their questions more direct. They're not doing something right. They're not doing it right. Bottom line. And that's why they're having these bad experiences, or they're freaking out over something stupid. Now, I'm sorry to say, but Ouija boards is not a gateway. It's not, anything that's going to be harmful. It's a paranormal tool. That's what it was designed for, a paranormal tool. And you run the same risks of getting a bad experience with that as opposed to a K2 meter, a millimeter, cameras, anything else. And that's fact. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, okay. Like you said, again, there are Ouija boards, just like anything, a pendulum, anything else, are tools. Okay, and it's not per se the use of them, because there are many people that use them to communicate. The problem is that with anything, if people don't understand how to use them, how to open them and shut them down correctly, it can wreak havoc. I mean, for probably just as many, the research that you've done, I've actually seen the reverse. But I normally see it with people who do have ability, like they play with them as teenagers or kids or whatever, and then they start having all kinds of stuff go on. So they're definitely, they are a tool. It can open doors, and when you don't know how to close them down, it definitely can be a problem. And a lot of times people will go in and they're going to use this Ouija board to connect with, Grandma Jane or, Uncle Joe. And so they'll start asking some questions and everything. I will tell you, really, I would say at least 99% of the time, you are not going to interact with the person you are trying to interact with.
We'll have to realize, just because you want to interact with Grandma Jane or Uncle Roy doesn't mean they're going to be there. You can't guarantee it. Now, much like anybody else, if anybody else gets an opportunity to engage in some kind of social activity, they're going to take advantage of that. Bottom line, that's just, again, behavior. It's who we are. We like being sociable. So if you're sitting down with a Ouija board and asking for Grandma Jane or Uncle Joe or Bobby Tom, whoever the hell it is, and your pen shutter starts moving around, it doesn't mean it's them. It could be some ghost that was walking down the street and says, "Hey, wow, I see a way to go talk with someone." And then that's it. It's like I said, it's not the Ouija board, it's the operator. The operator needs they need the information. They need to learn how to use these tools in a more effective way.
Right. And if you don't know what you're doing, which most people don't, so, but again, because they are promoted, to the public as a game, people are, very interested, and they see it as a game. Like, oh, nothing wrong with this. This can't do anything to harm me. It's just a game, until they find out it's not just a game. And, if you are one of those unfortunate people who play with Ouija board, I happen to be one of them, and then ended up with like I said, a very horrific attachment for many, many years that almost cost me my life. You definitely look at things, much different, and, but it's too late by then. And a lot of times when people get scared, all of a sudden they want to throw it in the garbage, or they want to burn it, of all things. I mean, people make, their own Ouija boards, and, again, they don't understand, burning them or tossing them in the, garbage can does not mean once something's there that's going to get rid of it. And if anything, you might now make it, it even worse, because now you really can't close down that door because you burnt it up or, put it in the garbage, somebody else finds it, different things like that. And I agree with you, because growing up, I remember just about every one of my friends' parents had a Ouija board in their closet. I mean, it wasn't anything new. Like, we'd have sleepovers, and everybody'd want to get scared. And for the few people who did know about my abilities, they always kind of wanted to test me. Ask me a question, I'd give the answer, and then see if the Ouija board had the same answer. But, they don't get the answers they're expecting, and all of a sudden they freak out, and, it goes all crazy. But
someone freaks out over a stupid scenario, especially when you're a teenager, especially when you're young. It'll blow the proportion, bottom line. We board from, the pancetta from sliding across the table, turns into the Ouija board levitated 5 feet in the air, spun around, and smacked me in the head. That's what it turns into. And it's not big. I call it the fisherman syndrome. That's what I call it. Every fisherman has a story where they had a 20-pound bass on the line. Is it true? No, it's not true. They had a bass on their line, but it wasn't that big. It's just exaggeration. And especially when you're a kid. Everybody can relate to this. When everyone's a child, 8, 9, 10 years old, 16 years old, and then they grow up, they look at their parents and they say, man, you were a lot smaller at one time. No, you were a lot smaller at one time. You just grew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just thing.
Well, it looks like we got about a minute or so left. You want to go ahead and give people where they can contact you, Jason?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone can contact me through Facebook. You can just look up Jason Stanton. You can look up Ghost Chat Radio. I have a fan page there. You can give that page a like. Ask me any question your little heart desires. I'll do what I can to get back to you as soon as I can. You can find me Monday nights and Tuesday nights. Mondays, I'm on between 6 and 8 o'clock p.m. right here on DTM Wicked Radio. Tuesday nights, I am on between 9 and 11 p.m. Again, right here on DTM Wicked Radio.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again, Jason, for being on the show tonight. It's been a great 2 hours. Thank you to all of our listeners. Boy, we have blown up on our listeners tonight. So thank you also very much for giving us, that support. We sincerely appreciate it. Make sure to check out both of our pages, Ghost Chat Radio and Paranormal Connections. Like our Facebook pages. Also the DTM Network. We are growing, and we've got all kinds of new shows and genres coming up. So make sure to check us out and like our pages. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Good night, everybody.
Later.